Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be exploring how to be more present every day.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it sounds kind of basic, right? Like being present, but
Right.
there's actually a lot to it. So we're going to be looking at this podcast called How to Be More Present Every Day.
Okay.
And it's really interesting. It goes way beyond just meditation and stuff.
Mm.
We're going to be talking about like how presence can actually rewire your brain,
Wow.
reduce your stress,
Yeah.
boost your happiness, really like improve your relationships, all this good stuff. We're even going to be talking about Oprah Winfrey and Steve Jobs
Really? Okay.
and how they embody presence in their lives.
Yeah. I'm really intrigued by this because I've seen a lot of stuff, about like the benefits of mindfulness and meditation and things like that. But
Right.
I don't think I've ever really delved into like the neurological changes that occur
Yeah.
when we cultivate presence. So I'm really interested to see what this podcast has to say about that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's jump in. So let's start with like the basics here. Why does presence even matter?
Okay.
Um, and I think that the podcast really emphasizes that it's about being fully engaged in whatever you're doing, right? Like whether you're having a conversation,
Right.
whether you're working on a project, or just like enjoying a quiet moment by yourself. It's about like really experiencing life as it unfolds.
Yeah.
Instead of getting stuck in the past or worrying about the future.
Oh, yeah. And that's where the science comes in, I think.
Okay.
When you're present, you're basically stepping off the mental treadmill of worry and overthinking. And it allows your brain to kind of shift into a more relaxed and receptive state.
Yeah.
And research shows that this can actually lead to like a decrease in cortisol,
Wow.
which is the stress hormone,
Right.
and then an increase in like dopamine and serotonin,
Ooh.
which are those neurochemicals that are associated with happiness and well-being.
So it's not just like a woo-woo feel-good concept. There's actually like real biology happening here.
Exactly. Yeah, and what's fascinating is that the prefrontal cortex,
Okay.
which is the part of our brain that's responsible for planning and decision-making and emotional regulation, that actually becomes more active when we're present.
Really?
So it suggests that being present actually enhances our ability to think clearly, make good decisions,
Wow.
and manage our emotions more effectively.
That's amazing. And this reminds me of Oprah.
Oh, yeah.
Oprah Winfrey. She once said, living in the moment means letting go of the past and not waiting for the future. It means living your life consciously aware that each moment you breathe is a gift.
That's beautiful.
Isn't that a great quote? And you can see that in her, like in everything she does. Her work ethic, her decision-making.
Yeah, you're right. Like her ability to connect with people on such a deep level and like her entrepreneurial success.
Right.
And her commitment to personal growth. Like it all points to this like deeply ingrained sense of presence.
Yeah.
And she's not alone. I mean, Steve Jobs is another great example.
Oh, yeah.
He was known for being very focused
Yeah.
and innovative.
Right.
And I think that really exemplifies the power of presence too.
I read somewhere that he had this ability to like
Yeah.
make whoever he was talking to feel like they were the only person in the room.
It's powerful,
Yeah.
especially as a leader.
Yeah.
And I think that level of presence wasn't just about charisma, like it translated into his leadership style and the products that Apple created.
Right.
By being fully present, he could really understand the needs of his team and his customers. And that led to the development of these products that were just like so intuitive and groundbreaking.
Yeah. So we're seeing that it's not just about feeling good.
Right.
It actually has like real world implications for how we work, how we lead, how we innovate.
Absolutely. And this brings us to another key point, which is that presence enhances our relationships.
Oh, yeah.
When you're truly present with someone,
Yeah.
really listening without distractions, it creates a deeper connection.
Yeah.
They feel heard, they feel seen, they feel valued.
Yeah.
And that strengthens the bond between you.
It's like when someone like puts their phone down
Yes.
and makes eye contact with you.
Exactly.
Really listens to what you're saying.
It makes all the difference.
It really does.
Yeah, and this is where that ability to regulate our emotions,
Okay.
which we talked about earlier,
Right.
becomes really crucial. Being present allows us to respond to others
Yeah.
with empathy and understanding,
Right.
even in challenging situations.
I have to admit, like, I've definitely had moments where I felt really scattered and distracted,
Oh, yeah,
especially when I'm juggling multiple projects.
for sure.
Or dealing with like personal stressors and things like that.
Right.
But I found that when I can just like shift my focus to the present moment, even for a few minutes,
Yeah.
it helps me feel more grounded and more equipped to handle whatever's coming my way.
That's a great point. And, it's not about achieving some perfect state of Zen 24/7.
Right.
It's more about just like recognizing when you've drifted away from the present moment
Right.
and having the tools to kind of gently guide your attention back.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something we'll explore a little bit later on.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because, as much as we're talking about all the benefits of presence, we do need to acknowledge that it can be really challenging.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in today's world. I mean, it's like we're constantly bombarded with distractions.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is where I think we start to see this tension between our like natural desire for presence and the world we live in, which is often designed to fragment our attention.
Yeah. For sure.
It's like social media, emails, notifications, the constant barrage of information, like our brains are constantly being pulled in a million different directions.
Yeah, it's like we're living in that scene from Up.
Yeah.
Where the dog is like trying to focus on a task and then squirrel. Exactly.
Yeah, and it's not just external distractions either.
Right.
We've got those internal distractions to contend with too,
Yeah.
Overthinking, worrying, getting lost in those mental loops. It's like we're constantly multitasking, even in our own minds.
It's true.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like my to-do list is just like playing on a loop in my head.
Yes.
Even when I'm trying to relax.
And that's the paradox of presence, right? Like our brains are wired for it, but the
Yeah.
modern world we live in often makes it feel so elusive.
Right.
But you know what? The podcast offers this really empowering perspective.
Okay.
Presence is a skill
Yeah.
that can be learned and strengthened.
So it's not about like achieving this perfect state of Zen. It's more about developing a greater capacity for focus and attention.
Exactly. It's like building a muscle.
Mm.
The more you practice, the stronger it gets.
Okay.
And just like any skill, it requires consistent effort and the right tools.
So let's talk about the tools.
Yeah.
Let's dive into some of the strategies that we can use to cultivate this presence muscle.
Okay.
The podcast offers some really practical and accessible techniques
Yeah.
that I think our listeners will love.
One of the foundational practices they highlight is mindfulness.
Yes, mindfulness, it's like
It's everywhere.
it's everywhere these days, but I feel like it's often misunderstood.
I agree. I think the podcast does a good job of demystifying it a little bit,
Okay.
explaining that mindfulness isn't about like emptying your mind
Right.
or achieving some kind of blissful state.
Yeah.
It's simply about paying attention to the present moment without judgment.
And that's where the breath comes in, right?
Exactly. The breath is such a powerful anchor to the present moment because it's always with us. Even just taking a few deep conscious breaths can help shift your attention away from those mental distractions
Yeah.
and bring you back to your body and your senses.
You want to try a quick breathing exercise together?
Sure. I'm always up for a little mindfulness boost.
Great. So just find a comfortable position. Close your eyes if you'd like, and take a slow, deep breath in through your nose, filling your lungs completely.
Yeah.
Hold it for a few seconds, and then slowly exhale through your mouth. Notice the rise and fall of your chest, the gentle flow of your breath. Let's do this a few more times, just focusing on the sensation of breathing.
That was incredibly grounding.
Yeah.
It's amazing how such a simple practice can have such a calming effect.
It really is. And the great thing about mindfulness is that you can practice it anytime, anywhere.
Right.
Like waiting in line at the store,
Yeah.
sitting in traffic, taking a shower. All these little moments are opportunities to bring your attention back to the present.
And as you practice consistently, even for a few minutes each day, you'll start to notice a shift in your ability to just stay present throughout your day.
We've got mindful breathing as our foundation.
Yeah.
What other strategies did the podcast recommend?
Well, they emphasize the importance of single tasking,
Oh, single tasking.
which can be a real challenge, I know.
In our multitasking-obsessed culture,
Yes.
I used to pride myself on my ability to juggle like a million things at once.
Oh, yeah.
But then I read an article about the science of multitasking,
Uh-huh.
and it totally changed my perspective.
Interesting.
Like, it turns out our brains aren't actually wired to multitask effectively.
Yeah.
When we try to do too many things at once, we end up sacrificing focus and quality.
That's right. And it's interesting because multitasking actually creates this false sense of productivity. We feel busy and important,
Yeah.
but in reality, we're just skimming the surface of each task and not giving any of them our full attention.
So what's the antidote to this multitasking madness?
Single tasking, choosing to focus on one thing at a time and really giving it your full attention.
Easier said than done.
It sounds simple, but it can be incredibly challenging in our always-on world.
I think one of the biggest hurdles to single tasking is FOMO,
Oh, yeah. FOMO.
that fear of missing out.
Yeah.
It's like we have this constant urge to check our phones, scroll through social media, see what everyone else is doing.
It's a powerful force. It taps into our innate need for connection and belonging.
Yeah.
But it often leads us down this path of distraction and comparison.
So how do we combat this FOMO and embrace the power of single tasking?
Well, the podcast suggests setting clear boundaries.
Okay.
Creating dedicated time blocks for focused work or activities.
Mm-hmm.
And during those times, putting your phone on silent, closing unnecessary tabs on your computer, eliminating any other potential distractions.
It's about creating a space where you can really immerse yourself
Yes.
in the task at hand.
Exactly.
And what I found is that when I do that, not only am I more productive,
Right.
but I also enjoy the process more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When you're fully present with a task, you can tap into that state of flow where
Yeah.
time seems to melt away and you become completely absorbed in what you're doing.
And that's where the magic happens.
Exactly.
The breakthroughs, the creative insights,
Yeah.
the deep satisfaction of a job well done.
Speaking of creating a conducive environment for presence, the podcast also talks about the power of rituals.
Ooh, I love rituals.
Me too.
They add a sense of intentionality and meaning to our days.
And they can be a powerful way to anchor yourself in the present moment.
Okay.
Think about small things you can do throughout your day to bring your attention back to the here and now.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Like making your morning coffee with mindfulness.
So-
Savoring each sip, really noticing the aroma and the taste.
Yeah.
Or taking a few moments to stretch and breathe deeply before starting your workday.
Okay.
Or even just pausing to appreciate a beautiful sunset.
Yeah.
Or a moment of connection with a loved one.
It doesn't have to be complicated.
Right. It's about creating those little moments of pause and intentionality throughout your day.
Weaving presence into the fabric of your life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Rather than treating it as this separate activity that you only do during designated meditation sessions.
And speaking of weaving presence into our daily lives, the podcast also highlighted the importance of engaging our senses.
This is such an accessible and enjoyable way to cultivate presence.
Okay.
Our senses are constantly feeding us information about the world around us,
Yeah.
but we often go through our days on autopilot, barely noticing what we're seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, or touching.
It's like we've become desensitized
Yeah.
to the richness of our sensory experience.
So the invitation here is to slow down and really tune into your senses.
Okay, I like that.
Take a moment to savor the taste of your food.
Mm.
Notice the colors and textures of nature. Listen to the sounds of your surroundings. Feel the warmth of the sun on your skin.
It's about waking up to the present moment through our senses.
And what's fascinating is that when we engage our senses, we naturally become more present. Our minds quiet down, our worries fade into the background, and we're able to experience the world with a sense of childlike wonder.
Okay, let's do a mini sensory exercise right now.
I'm game.
Awesome. So wherever you are, take a moment to pause and tune into your senses. What do you see around you? Notice the shapes, the colors, the details. What do you hear? Pay attention to the sounds near and far. Can you feel the air on your skin, the temperature of the room, the pressure of your feet on the ground? What scents do you notice? And if you have a drink or a snack nearby, take a moment to really savor the taste.
Wow, I hadn't realized how much I was tuning out before.
Right.
Just by taking a few moments to engage my senses, I feel more present and connected to my surroundings.
Me too. It's like a mini vacation for the mind.
It really is. And it's a practice you can do anytime you need a little presence boost.
So we've covered mindfulness, single-tasking rituals, and engaging our senses. What other gems did the podcast offer up?
They talked about the importance of gratitude,
Oh, gratitude.
which is often touted as a key to happiness and well-being.
Right.
But what's interesting is that gratitude also plays a significant role in cultivating presence.
I can see that. When you're focusing on what you're grateful for, you're naturally shifting your attention away from what's lacking or what's causing you stress.
Exactly. Gratitude helps us appreciate the good things in our lives, big or small.
Mm-hmm.
And that appreciation naturally brings us into a more present state of mind.
I found that keeping a gratitude journal really helps me
Oh, yeah.
stay more aware of the things I'm thankful for.
Yeah.
Each day I write down 3 things I'm grateful for.
Hmm.
And it's amazing how this simple act can shift my perspective and just make me more present to the abundance in my life.
That's a great practice. And even if you don't journal, you can simply take a moment each day to reflect on what you're grateful for. Could be your health, your loved ones, a beautiful day, a delicious meal, a moment of laughter, anything that brings a sense of joy and appreciation to your heart.
These are all such great strategies.
Yeah.
But, sometimes it helps to see how others have put these ideas into action.
Absolutely. The podcast featured some really inspiring examples
Okay.
of people who embody presence in different ways.
I'm excited to dive into those examples.
Yeah.
It's always fascinating to see how other people have integrated these concepts into their lives.
Yeah.
And what impact it's had on their work, their relationships, their overall well-being. Okay, so who do they talk about?
Well, they start with Eckhart Tolle,
Oh,
the author of The Power of Now.
right.
That book's like a modern classic on mindfulness and presence.
It is, yeah.
And his work really emphasizes the importance of detaching from the ego's constant chatter and connecting with the stillness within. And he doesn't just talk about presence, he embodies it.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that he didn't always live this way, right?
Right.
He went through a period of intense suffering and anxiety before having this profound spiritual awakening. That led him to dedicate his life to exploring and teaching the power of presence.
And I think that's why his teachings resonate with so many people.
Yeah.
Because they're rooted in his own lived experience.
Right, it's not just theory.
Exactly. He's sharing a path that he himself has walked.
Yeah, okay, so who else?
Well, they also talk about Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, Matthew McConaughey, okay.
Yeah, which I thought was really interesting.
What's the connection there?
Well, in his memoir, Green Lights,
Okay.
he talks a lot about his own journey of self-discovery and his quest for meaning and purpose.
Right.
And he's very open about discussing his struggles
Okay.
and the lessons he's learned along the way.
And he connects that to presence.
Yeah, what I found really interesting is that he talks about presence not just as a personal practice,
Right.
but as a philosophy that guides his life, his career, even his parenting.
It's that whole all right philosophy,
But
right? Just going with the flow.
Yeah, being open to what life throws your way.
Yeah, trusting the journey.
And what's inspiring about McConaughey's story is that it shows us that presence isn't just for monks or spiritual seekers.
What?
It's something that can be integrated into a very full and public
I
life.
love that. And they included an athlete, too.
Oh, yeah.
Serena Williams.
Serena Williams.
A true icon.
She's a phenomenal example of how presence translates into peak performance.
For sure.
She's known for her incredible focus and mental strength on the tennis court,
Right.
her ability to stay calm and collected under immense pressure.
That's what separates the good from the great.
Exactly. And she's often spoken about the importance of being present in each match, focusing on the task at hand, blocking out all distractions.
Which is no easy feat when you've got thousands of people watching you.
Right.
And the weight of expectations on your shoulders.
It takes incredible mental discipline and training.
Yeah.
And it really highlights the fact that presence is a skill that can be honed and strengthened over time.
These are all such inspiring examples.
They are. It's so encouraging to see how people from such different walks of life have embraced the power of presence.
It really shows that it's a universal concept.
Yeah.
Something that can benefit everyone,
Absolutely.
no matter what their goals are. Okay, so we've got all these great strategies. How do we make presence a lasting habit in our lives?
Well, the podcast really emphasizes that consistency is key. It's about making small, sustainable changes that you can stick with over time.
So not trying to overhaul your whole life overnight.
Right.
Just taking those small steps day by day.
Exactly. One suggestion they offer is to build presence into your routine.
Okay.
Like maybe starting your day with a few minutes of mindful breathing,
Okay.
taking a tech-free walk in nature, or ending your evening with a gratitude practice.
I like those ideas.
Yeah.
Like little rituals throughout the day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Setting up those reminders to come back to the present moment.
Yeah. And don't underestimate the power of accountability.
Oh, that's a good one.
Like sharing your goal of being more present with a friend or family member.
Yeah.
It's like having a cheerleader in your corner
It can really help.
to keep you motivated.
And remember, presence is a journey, not a destination.
Right.
There will be days when you feel more present than others.
Yeah, of course.
The key is to approach it with a sense of curiosity and compassion rather than judgment or self-criticism.
So if you find yourself getting caught up in distractions or worries,
Right.
don't beat yourself up about it.
Exactly.
Just gently guide your attention back to the present moment.
It's about progress, not perfection.
Well, this has been a really insightful, deep dive into the world of presence.
It has.
I feel like I've learned a lot.
Me too.
And I'm definitely going to be trying out some of these strategies.
Awesome.
And a huge thank you to you, our listener, for joining us on this journey.
Yes, thank you.
We hope you've gained some valuable tools and inspiration to cultivate more presence in your own life. Remember, it's a journey, not a destination. So be kind to yourself along the way.
That's important.
And if you're feeling inspired, we encourage you to share your thoughts and takeaways from this deep dive with us.
We'd love to hear from you.
We'd love to hear about your experiences. Until next time, stay present, stay curious, and keep diving deep.